Welcome back. Um, it's a big pleasure for me to present the next presentation, Character Studies, New Third Stream Music for Winds by our student, Luke Norris. Luke is a saxophonist, composer, and woodwind artist. A native of New York, Norris graduated from the Eastham School of Music with a bachelor degree in jazz saxophone with high distinctions, starting with Charles Pillow and Bill Dobbins. In 2016, he won second place in the Kilworth Saxophone Idol competition and third place in the North American Saxophone Alliance Jazz Saxophone competition. He will release his debut record in July 2019 on Ears and Eyes record, featuring all original composition for quartet. His advisor during this semester was Maestro Alan Chase, and we want to welcome in his committee, Maestra Shannon McClare. Please a big clap for Shannon here with us. Luke Norris.
Thanks, Marco. Thank you for that introduction. Hi, everyone. So my presentation today is entitled Character Studies, New Third Stream Music for Winds. And so this project kind of began with this directive. How does a third stream approach help us create new music in the 21st century? And now I'll get into what third stream means a little bit, but basically I wanted to combine my loves for jazz and Western classical music and engage in a formal study of classical music and see if I could combine the two. So for the sake of this project, the focus was on 20th century tonality. So I basically shortened the time period from 1901 to 2000. And I was really interested in this idea of tonality, how we deal with it in jazz, and how other musics have dealt with it. And just for a dictionary definition, to clarify for myself, I went to the dictionary and it says, tonality, the organization of all the tones and harmonies of a piece of music in relation to the tonic. So the focus of this presentation is to really explore, tonality in new pieces of music. So I had four goals, four directives. Number one was to engage in theoretical study and formal analysis of select classical works. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to link new compositions with jazz improvisation and extended harmony based on the study that I was doing. Afterwards, I wanted to write, so these new compositions and these new ideas, I wanted to embed them into a classically derived instrumentation and then blending that with traditional jazz quartet. And then the result of that would be these long-form works. I really wanted to get into thematic development and see if I could basically write some long pieces that really developed certain concepts that I was thinking about. And so here are a few, this is basically what my analysis consisted of. I had three main methods of analyzing the music through making form charts for myself, which I have a few pictures of some rough drafts. Also score study, and in some cases, these JSTOR articles that helped clarify some core theoretical concepts in some of the pieces. And from this list of composers that I studied, some of the really important ones that stand out are Igor Stravinsky, Bela Bartok, Aaron Copland, and then on the jazz side, people like Bob Brookmeyer, George Russell, Wayne Shorter. And so the question arises is why did I settle on writing music for woodwind sextet and jazz quartet? And I think the three points that stand out to me is that I was really influenced by the woodwind writing of Stravinsky. That sound really stuck in my head from when I first heard it as an undergrad. And then secondly, being a saxophonist and also having some facility on flute and clarinet, I thought it would make most sense to write for those instruments, to write from a player's perspective, because I kind of had an idea of where certain things were voiced and how certain things would sit on the instrument. And then the third thing, which my advisor, Alan Chase, and also my committee member, Shannon LeClaire, both discussed with me, is that the instrumentation really makes it a third stream blend. So that really gets into what is third stream. And so The idea of third stream was coined by Gunther Schuller in 1957 at a lecture that he gave. And basically what it is it's a synthesis of classical music and jazz, pulling from different key elements. And it really, like having a third stream mindset really helps you zoom in on certain key elements of the music. So from jazz, improvisation, rhythm and language. And from classical music, compositional devices, form, instrumentation. And then I would say that the one that really unifies the two of these is thematic development. And I found this really funny quote about Gunther Schuller clarifying what third stream is not, and how it's not simply just taking a bit of Bach and putting it over bebop changes, or taking some Schoenberg and interspersing it with a contrafact or something like that. It's truly a synthesis, or as we say in the Institute, a syncretism, a blend of two distinct elements that creates a third. And so these were two very important third stream recordings for me that, that really solidified what third stream could sound like and what it did sound like in the 1950s. The first is the birth of third stream, and then the second is actually a jazz concert from Brandeis University. Both feature works by George Russell and some other composers, Gunther Schuller, John Lewis. Miles plays on the birth of the third stream, which is really awesome. So this really clarified what Gunther was talking about when he was mentioning third stream, and then also where I could depart for my new musical compositions. So here's a few principles that I derived from my analysis methods. And the most important ones of these are chromaticism and diatonicism work in tandem with each other. They kind of counterbalance each other, like these two kind of opposing forces. And then also, this is something that Danilo and I talked about a lot, is that the improvisation sections should really utilize source material from the piece to make it all thematically related. And he would call it comprovisation, where you improvise using specific language and specific elements of the piece. And then also, the greatest composers can express the human experience through manipulation of musical materials. So basically, you have these raw materials, you have so much at your disposal, but the ultimate goal is to convey something about the human experience, convey a certain emotion, a sentiment, or something like that. So that was a big directive in going forward with writing. So the first piece I wrote is this piece, Acceptance, and it's roughly based on Aaron Copland's Clarinet Concerto, the first movement. And so this is basically, I photocopied the score, and then I did a little formal analysis of sections that repeated, and saw where themes came back. And so from this plan, I wrote new music, and this is kind of my rough draft of the piece that I wrote, because I was really trying to go for that long-form composition. So here's the first example from the piece. So some of the source material for comprovisation is Triad Pairs. Thank you. So like I say here, it first presents itself in melodic accompaniment, and then later iterations occur in different textures. And one such iteration is in the blowing section, the improvisation section. So this, I feel, I tried to write the changes in a way that expressed the thematic language of the piece. So after the triad pairs were introduced, I wanted to also, I had this idea at letter L for the closing section of the piece, and I wanted to bridge the two together. And one thing I realized from analysis is that composers use the diminished scale or the octatonic scale as connective material, as like transition material. So I tried to write basically a line that kind of went through the different members of the woodwind sextet that would connect the two sections. And in that last bit, I was really trying to, I started with diatonic material at letter L, and then I tried to find a really chromatic harmonization of it. So that was really the directive there. Thanks. So the second piece that I composed is Today's Chorale is the name of it. And the form of it was loosely based on Shostakovich Symphony No. 5, Movement 3. And I was really considering the storytelling element of writing music, specifically how we can express different emotion through raw musical means, and how Shostakovich accessed these emotions and how I could do the same. And I want to lead off with this quote about that movement where this concertmaster says, "The third movement is a requiem for people who died. It's a prayer for their souls, and it is one of the most touching, moving moments of the whole piece, of the whole Fifth Symphony." And I really felt that the first time I heard it. So this is kind of like a rough form chart that I derived through listening to Shostakovich's piece, just a way for me to understand the music and kind of sequence things in time. And one thing I realized is that thematic development generates long forms. Shostakovich does this, and a lot of the other classical composers do as well. So I tried to do the same thing. And then transitioning from that section, I was also interested in this composer, Ludovico Loski. He's a Polish composer. And one thing that he really utilized was this idea of aleatoricism, which is like controlled improvisation through, I'll show you in this thumbnail. You give basically the classical members like a few notes, and you say, improvise with these notes using different durations of time, different rhythms and stuff like that. So I led off with an aleatoric section, and then I led into this chorale that I wanted to include in the piece. Thank you. And then from there, I wanted to, again, thinking of long-form composition, I was thinking of, okay, so this needs an improv section. And another thing that Danilo talked about is this idea of UFO material, you know, basically the highest extensions of a chord, and improvising basically in a different realm than the changes that you're already in. And so I wrote this progression, and I feel that in this excerpt I was really trying to access some of those, basically the higher intervals of the chords. And I'd like to mention this last piece. Why is this not?
You have 1 minute.
Okay. So I think the most important part of this piece is that I focused on using C and F sharp triad pairs derived from Stravinsky's Petrushka. Do I have 1 more minute? 45 seconds. I'll leave you the little piece of the melody that comes afterwards.
Luke Norris.
Thank you.
Luke, can you please mention the musician that
Sure.
took part in this project?
So in the large ensemble, Dan Elbert was conducting, and then Grzegorz Włodarczyk was playing bass, Aga Derlak on piano, Connor Kent on drums, and then in the classical sextet, it was Joe Melnikov, Nadia Kelly, Matt Stubbs, Evan Kopka, Tyler Harper, and Charlie Lincoln was my assistant producer.
Beautiful.
And I was playing saxophone.
Yes, please clap for all of them. I would like to pass the microphone to Shannon. We was in this committee. You're far away, Shannon.
I had a feeling.
Luke. Awesome. It was like a real privilege getting to not only be on your committee this summer, but teaching your first semester.
Oh, geez, thanks, Shannon.
It's really, really amazing. Yeah, great. What a lot of work. So congratulations for that.
Thanks.
It's like tremendous amount of work. Beautiful. I love the chorale. Really, really beautiful
Thanks.
writing there. Let's see. I have so much to say. I got to make this. One thing I thought was really, really great was your choice of examples. Like you cut to the chase, and they were very clear. So clear that I think that I could probably take the technique and go try it myself.
Cool.
Right? It was
Well,
clear enough.
Nice.
What you were trying to do and the examples you chose. And they are your slides, like that you titled the slide very, very well. It wasn't confusing, like the death by PowerPoint that you often see at
right.
psychology conferences and things like that. I liked seeing the little form analysis sketches. I liked just seeing that you photocopy those and put those on there because they kind of give a insight into your process.
Sure.
Even though we didn't get to like delve into them, and I just liked seeing sketches, and I think a lot of people do like seeing sketches of composers, little sketchbooks. One thing, are you? What are you going to do with this? Are you planning on more concerts with it? Are you going to write more pieces with the same exact instrumentation? Are you going to try to do more third stream stuff, or are you moving on?
I think that I recently had a few ideas for writing more pieces for this group, so the repertoire could definitely expand. And then another thing I was thinking of is that, because I think this has some strong educational aspects to it, that maybe I could bring it around to some different universities and colleges, maybe with a classical music program or even a jazz studies program. Maybe I bring a few members with me and we rehearse this music and we play it, or if I could even get it programmed by some, basically collegiate musicians to play it. And then another idea would be to basically form the ensemble and then take it around to schools, take it around to public and private schools in different areas, and basically present this kind of like, basically it would teach classical music, jazz, improvisation, playing in a group, good instrumental technique. And the fact that so many instruments are in it, that could even break down into clinics for different, students in music programs. So
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of possibilities for like the modular nature of the ensemble.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing you said in the very beginning, like the thing that Alan and I talked to you about, how, what makes it third stream,
Yeah.
because a lot of people who compose for big band are using these same techniques.
Sure.
But when that instrumentation was what really, it was great. I loved the sextet with the quartet. I just thought
Cool.
it was really, really great. You did
Thank
a great
you.
job with
Thanks.
the instrumentation and some of the early problems you had where the contrapuntal lines were not coming out.
Yeah, right.
When you were doing rehearsals. And
Yeah.
what you have to say to people in rehearsal to make the lines actually clear.
Yeah,
And
there's an
who-
art to that, you know.
Who has the lead line? So that all came out really well in in your presentation. I was wondering whether you actually studied any other composers who were writing for these kind of smaller groups, or are there any people trying to do third stream for these smaller types of?
Well, I think the one direct one, as I put on this composer's slide, I just realized this a few days ago, but early on this semester, I heard this piece that Wayne wrote for the Imani Wind Quintet and his quartet called Pegasus that he later expanded.
Okay.
And that was, so that was for quintet
Quintet, right.
and quartet. And the reason I went with sextet is because I wanted bass clarinet in it as well.
yeah.
So, yeah, Wayne's doing it. Gunther Schuller did it a little bit too.
Yep.
There's some records with like less winds, like maybe like 4 winds.
But there's no younger composers like trying to carry this on and
There are a few like quintet things, but not many sextet.
yeah.
You know.
Cool. And I had just a few. I hate to when I was joking, I'm going to tear you to shreds. I was really joking because I really thought this was wonderful. But just a few minor
Please,
improvements
yeah,
you
definitely.
could make was I think the slide you about tonality came too early in that, and it was
Sure.
confusing the overall thing. It's more like some subtopic.
Sure,
It
sure.
should be later as a sub thing. It doesn't. And then you're on your goals page. Well, instead of putting 4 goals, I would state clearly in one sentence your main goal, which was
Sure.
basically to compose long-form third-stream pieces using wind sextet and jazz quartet. And then the other things were more about your process and
Sure.
about the details, so they were kind of like subtopics. Again, because we can't keep in our mind all 4 of your goals
Exactly,
while we're watching
yeah.
your process. And then just your presentation was really, really good until the very end when you kind of ran out of time.
Yes.
So again, timing is everything.
Yeah.
You're gonna little psychology conferences. You have 8 minutes to do your presentation or
Right,
whatever, right?
right.
So you got to get 15 if you're one of the hot shots. So you gotta. Yeah. Anyway, wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Shannon.
choosing me to be on your
Of
committee.
course. Of course. Woo!
Danilo Perez. Okay. Luke, I truly enjoy your presentation, especially since the class, you brought it to a totally different level.
Tried to organize it differently.
I was seeing that you have a slide with realization. I think I would like to see that, and if
Sure.
you can talk a little about
Sure.
what your final thought on your process, since you didn't have time to talk about. Yes.
You want me to discuss it a
Yes,
little bit? Yeah.
please.
So basically, this idea of third stream, we're kind of doing it instinctively at Global, where we're blending different cultures with jazz, and we're kind of making this new, almost a third stream in itself, like a third type of music, kind of. And in the 21st century, it's like we should be doing that. We should be like everything's kind of up for grabs, and that we should be experimenting with different musical cultures and personal, because also in Global, people are coming from so many different cultures that they have different musical backgrounds. And to be in an environment that fosters the combination of those things, I'd say that's a very 21st century thing to do. And that, I feel like that's going to definitely advance the music forward and advance the art forward, and be more inclusive. I think that's the most important part.
Well, you answer the second question that I had in my mind is why do you think this work is relevant? But I think you sort of already talk about it. Can you tell me a little bit about what was your biggest challenge through this process of writing this music, and maybe what is that your biggest takeaway?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is from purely like a writing standpoint that when you get into the zone of writing, it takes up more time than like if you were to just go practicing, you know, oh, I'm going to practice for 2 hours or something. Like composing is something that keeps you up at night. It, you know, basically your entire lifestyle like freezes and you're just writing these pieces and things are, you know, you're really trying to solve like a certain section and it might not come right away, but then as time goes on, everything kind of fits together and you find new ways to fit pieces together. And it is also something that you can make time in the day to do. Be like, yeah, I'm going to write for 40 minutes today, just see what happens. And then later on, that fragment might become part of the piece. So this project really got me more acquainted with the writing process.
My last question is, you talk about pretty well about the idea of using material, thematic material from the composition to use improvisation, like Daniela talked about improvising, sorry.
Improvising, yeah.
Do you think that this has changed your way you approach other kind of music?
Definitely.
Can you talk about that?
Even something like playing a standard tune or playing like a jazz standard, I'm approaching it differently because maybe in the past one of the choices I would have made would be to approach the tune and just play the material that I've worked out or that, you know, okay, I know these scales, I've taken these phrases from transcriptions, but you also have this other source material, which is what the writer put into the piece. And that's definitely more, if not, that's more important than just coming to the music with what you have, you know? You got to really be in the moment and using the material from the piece. So yes, I am definitely thinking and improvising differently.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Luke.
Thanks, Marco.
Luke, congratulations. I mean, a lot of great work, and you and I know each other. So I'm gonna get to to some of the things that I feel that has so much potential. You know,
Sure.
That well, a lot of work. First of all, that's inspiring to me. Really want to go home and do some more work. You know, doing the solitude takes a lot of solitude to be in this frame of mind and a lot of personal. I would get to the couple things that is more an emotional based feeling. Somebody who's been somebody grew up in this kind of environment to classical jump into jazz. One of the things that I think is challenging when you do the third stream music is that the idea of bringing this music together is always pictured towards a writing process. Mm-hmm. And what I feel that could be something as a goal for you from here on is something that we always talk about, which is stretching the ears, which is to approach all these things as a mean to get to the score later on. In other words, transcriptions, learn by memory the parts, and really look at it as we do a standard. In other words, think in this way.
Yes.
Think this way and learn all these parts by ear completely and try to transcribe it.
Sure.
You know, I would have liked to see a transcription of yours of the material.
Oh, sure.
Which is,
you
know what I mean? Before you answer yes, write it down because it's a lot of homework I'm going to give you.
Please.
Why? Because I think that there's something about that we can break through in this 21st century, which is playing by ear this music. In other words, you write it down, of course, but imagining the ear training 21st century involving these kind of things. Mm-hmm. You see, and that's going to take us to another level. That's one thing. These are just pointers that will elevate this project for me. And the second, because it will make it more human in that sense. It's like I want to feel that raw thing that you know, it feels classical to me still, for what I heard. Mm-hmm. And the second thing that I would, it's not just about jazz with classical music. It's also about classical music with what you said, folk music. I personally would have liked to hear a little bit more of the integration of all these workshops we do about 6A, about the
Sure.
polyrhythmic aspect of this music, that a lot of the classical music needs work on. A lot of the great classical musicians are dying to be exposed to things that are coming from West Africa or Latin America or Middle East.
Sure.
Those sounds, those rhythms. So beside those things, those are like, you have we're gonna work together on this, you know, because I got a lot of work to do, and we all, you know, Wayne, all of the people that are thinking this way, is a lot of work to do.
Sure.
But remember, the main thing would be to really live this life that you are chosen. And when you play jazz, when you play a tenor part, which is, you think as a flute player, you think as an oboe, you think as a cello.
Yeah.
I want to hear that on your playing. That's just homework.
Cool.
But you are a very inspiring individual,
Thanks.
artist, musician, and I can't wait to see where this is gonna all take it. I'm hope that pretty soon I'll be buying a ticket to a premiere at Carnegie Hall where you are premiering a new work.
Sure.
And congratulations, it's been a
Thanks,
privilege
Danilo.
to work
Thank
with
you.
Luke Norris, please clap for Luke. We'll be continuing with Farid Isaac in a few minutes. Thank you.